Okay.
Okay, wonderful. So we have on here today Lindsay. Lindsay was one of my very first clients at Let's Get Real RD, and we are just going to talk to her a little bit about her journey and really just kind of have a conversation about where she's at with her hormone balance and on her family planning. So she's got some exciting news to share with us.
Yes.
So Lindsay, what made you decide it was time to take action and balance your hormones?
Yeah. So I had gotten off birth control, and I knew Olivia, and I knew just how awesome she was and trustworthy. So I reached out to her, Olivia, and yeah, I was just like kind of telling her my issues and how I'd gotten off birth control previously, and it really messed me up. So I was like, okay, this time I just really want to be kind of more in control of just seeing what my body's doing and just being healthy and getting all of those like fake hormones out of my body. So yeah.
And did you have trouble when you went off before? What were some of the things that you experienced?
Yes. So I'd gotten off birth control about a year ago, and I experienced just withdrawal bleeding. They weren't real periods. And then all of a sudden the withdrawal bleeding just stopped. So I didn't have a period for like 3 months. And my gynecologist was like, we'll just put you back on birth control just to cover up a Band-Aid. So for me, I was like, okay, I don't really know what else to do. And during that time of being off birth control, I got really bad cystic acne, like unbearable. It was so painful, and just gut issues as well. So yeah, so it was definitely scary getting off the second time, but I was also excited.
Yeah, especially when that's the answer that you're given, right? When you go back to your practitioner, it's like, well, the answer is to go back on it.
Yes.
And now you wanted to kind of look to start maybe family planning, correct, too? So you knew in
Right.
the back of your mind, like, well, why would I go back on birth control when I maybe want to start a family here coming up within the
Yes.
next year or two?
Yes. And that was what they told, when I talked to my gyno, they told me, well, you should be fine right when you get off birth control, you should be totally fine to start a family. And that just didn't sound right to me. So that's when I reached out to Olivia.
Well, I'm so happy you listened to that gut feeling and
Yes.
you knew a little bit more and there's more to the picture. And I'm so happy that we were able to work together and
Yeah.
restore your gut health, and even birth control can deplete certain nutrients. So we
Yes.
worked on, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but I'm so happy that you listened to that inner voice of yours and knew there
Yes.
was a better way.
Me too.
Now, did you have any feelings of hesitation or like questions before starting with me? I'm sure, even just talking about that kind of that trouble not knowing what to do,
Yeah.
right? When you're told one thing from your practitioner. So what were some of your feelings of hesitation before starting?
Yes. Yeah. So definitely I was nervous, just in the sense of, what if nothing changes, or what if, my body is just broken, and, we all have different issues that can be helped. And I think that's just been such a cool realization after going through this. But definitely that I was just nervous, like, okay, what if kind of the same thing happens again? My period disappears, and what if there's just no answer? So that was a scary just part for me.
The unknown, right?
The unknown, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm
Yeah.
so thankful, and I feel so just grateful that you did begin and we worked together, and you put some of that trust into
Yeah.
my care. So I thank you for that. What was your biggest challenge during the program, and how did you overcome that?
That's a good one. I would say mentally, it's hard just for me. My story is basically I did have like one long cycle, and it was after birth control. And I just remember being like, okay, like I'm just going to continue to stay in touch with Olivia and keep her updated, and just be consistent, like with the meal planning and with my supplements that I'm taking, and just bedtime and all of these things, just being consistent with that, and just trusting Olivia, and yeah, just really continuing and moving forward. I think that was like the hardest part. But again, our bodies, I kind of wanted to see a result like the next day, but that's not how our bodies are made. So that has definitely been the biggest challenge. And I feel like just perseverance and just continuing to, trust in you, Olivia, and just continue to like talk with you and meet with you.
And in your body, right? Like you said, trust in your body. Like
Yes.
we're not really taught that as women, right? It's like, well,
Right.
we can get a fix for that. And if this doesn't change tomorrow, well, then something's wrong. But
Yes.
time is such a critical factor in healing, and you allow that to happen.
Exactly. So that was kind of my biggest thing, was just, being patient and waiting instead of just wanting the little fix that we can get, which for me over a year ago was starting the pill again.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a great point, right? I mean, the quick fix is for a lot of women the going on birth control.
Yep.
But we know there's things that are not, it doesn't solve anything. So really it's not a fix for much at all. It's just masking those symptoms. And then we really have to, when it's time to dig down and get to the root cause, that's when we have to have that patience and just trust in our bodies.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. I love that you touched on that, because that is such a big thing in health. I mean, I think, just today in our society, in our generation, everything's so fast, right?
Yes, totally.
I mean, we're used to like, next day delivery on Amazon, and everything happens so quickly. Our bodies do not run on that time frame.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, huge. So that's something that I think all of us just need a constant reminder of, even myself,
Definitely. Yeah. Things take time.
Yeah, 100%. So do you feel now that you have a better understanding of your hormones and your fertility?
Definitely. And I think that was something that took time just to like wrap my head around and understand. And I was so interested in it before even meeting with you. And I knew once I did start meeting with you, Olivia, that I would just like, my mind would just be like open even more just to everything. And I would just have more knowledge of what's going on. So definitely I have a much larger understanding and really have an understanding of, the first part of my cycle versus the second part of my cycle. And just seeing how when I'm on my period or my emotions throughout my cycle, if I'm really happy or I'm feeling really like just wanting to relax and be home and not socialize. And it's just really neat to see like the cycle that our bodies do and, go run by. So for sure, I feel like I have definitely more of just an understanding and a really appreciation for my body and my cycle and what it does. And of course it's not perfect, but that's life and we work through those things. So
wow. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't have said any of that better myself. Incredible explanation. Just when we understand our hormones and the fact that we change throughout the month, every month women are changing and we're in fluctuation, then we can appreciate the differences in our mood and our feelings and our social life and adjust those to really match and to honor those hormones rather than working against them.
Right.
Which definitely. I always say, if you're in a battle against your hormones, you're never going to win.
Yeah. Oh, no. Definitely not.
I mean, they're running the show. So we got to figure out how to work with them and not against them. So I love that you feel more confident about that. And did charting, now, when we first started, did you chart your cycle or was that a new thing? I think you were maybe doing a little bit. Tell me a little bit about actually charting your cycle, taking your temperatures, checking your cervical fluid.
So I think the first month, so I'd gotten off birth control, and then right when I met with you, I think that was when I had my first period, and I think I really had an actual period, but I charted through that. Didn't really know what I was doing then, but I could kind of see, the lower temps, and then it jumps to stay high and then drops when my period arrived. And then after that was my really long cycle. I think it was like a 68-day cycle, and that's kind of what happened to me like the last time I got off birth control, but I was able to chart through that and I was like, I'm just going to give up. And it was just so cool just to stick through that and see, finally how my body ovulated. And then I got my period. So I had charted previously, like, I guess a year ago when I did first get off birth control, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I really, again, my period didn't show up. So I just gave up. So that has been huge, along with cervical mucus and charting that, whether, you're sticky or dry or have egg white cervical mucus, like that is so important. I was sharing that with my friend the other night, and
Oh, good.
just telling her how, like, yeah, that's just huge, just to show, when you're in your fertile window, when you have more egg white or watery cervical mucus, and just seeing that along with your temp spike, it's just so neat to see. And yeah, it takes time to learn it all, but I love charting, and I will definitely like recommend it to anybody who's trying to understand like more of their body, along with saying, go see Olivia.
I so
So
appreciate that. Yeah, that was, I mean, really, I feel the same way. I just want to share it with every single woman because
yeah,
I'm like, this is information that your body tells you every day,
yeah,
and we need to listen to that. It's so telling, and it's really giving us an insight into what's going on with just
right.
our cycle. Our cycle, I like to call, is our fifth vital sign of health, because
Mm-hmm.
right, it's so important. And then not only just understand what's going on with our cycle, but
Yeah,
then when we're talking about fertility, we can actually see when our body is fertile and when
yes,
it isn't. And
yeah,
you are actually kind of a perfect example of that, because so one of the big things, as we mentioned, came off birth control, you didn't get your period and your cycles were extremely long, right?
yes,
And so that can be part of what is kind of coined post-birth control
yep,
syndrome, which we've talked about. And it
yes,
takes some time for your body to regulate, but not knowing when to try now, and this will be getting into our next question, is you wanted to start planning for a family,
mm-hmm.
but when the heck do you try? I mean, are you gonna try every single day of that 60 long cycle, 60
Right,
day long cycle, right? We don't know when to even try to conceive, because there's no there, like when the heck would we begin, where would we start?
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and so for you, let's talk a little bit about the most exciting part about
Yes.
this. Now, you wanted to try to maybe conceive within a year or two, and
Yeah.
so charting your cycles, you were able to actually, as those started to regulate, we got those regulated,
Mm-hmm.
you were able to start to see your fertile window
Yes.
right around ovulation.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me how that helped. What was the result of that? How did you,
Yeah.
what happened after
Yes.
learning?
Yeah. So we definitely, understood. It took time for my husband to really like catch on and be like, are you sure this is okay? Or, when we weren't really necessarily open to starting a family,
Right.
just kind of him getting on board and talking through that. But then, yeah, we were able to kind of see like when I was fertile and when I wasn't. And so, like, over a month ago, we knew we were having sex during our fertile window. So it was kind of an up in the air, like, okay, we'll see what happens. So we were, open to kind of whatever was in store. And so, yeah, I found out I was pregnant about 9 days after ovulation, which is so crazy. So, yeah, now I'm about a little over 6 weeks today. So,
I
so
just
exciting. Yeah,
so
so crazy. Yeah, so it's so neat just to see, I mean, I think it's about a 30% chance of conceiving every cycle. Correct me if I'm wrong, Olivia, but now, I was kind of like, I don't know if this will happen, and,
yeah.
maybe we missed it or whatever. And so it's just crazy to, yeah, listen to your body and see, and here we are today, just kind of going through, yeah, this process. So
Absolutely, you're totally right. I think it's even less. I think it's 25%.
is it okay?
Yeah, for what per cycle to
Crazy.
actually conceive. So you talked about like when you weren't trying to conceive, it was strange, right? To talk to your husband and say, "Hey, listen, we don't need to use a barrier method
Yes.
on, the other 75% of my cycle,"
Mhm.
which is really not what we're taught at all, right? Like we're taught
Right.
it takes one time to get
Yeah.
pregnant,
Right.
right? And so that would be very nerve-wracking. And but you talked with your husband, and that was a communication. I mean, just tell me a little bit about like, I'll come back to what we're talking about, but just a little side note about like getting your husband on board, that
Yeah.
conversation.
So we probably, after I really started to see how my cycle was and stuff, um, we were, having intercourse just during my, like, just when I wasn't fertile, and or after I ovulated, and making sure, we followed the take charge of your fertility rules, and, waiting those 3 days and making sure my cervical mucus had dried up. And yeah, I think it was kind of scary for him. But then once I would show him my chart and like open the book and explain some things to him, I think he really started to understand and get on board as well. So that was really neat to see.
Absolutely. I think it's so critical. I mean, it's a partnership, right?
Yeah,
And so to share that and explain why that's okay and what your fertility means for him too is super
right.
important. So I love that that happened. And
Yeah.
then when you were trying, I think the term actually you introduced me to the TTW term. Was that it?
Yes.
I love
Yes. So trying to whatever is kind of the term I think that it is. So
that.
that's kind of where we were at, I think. So, there's you're trying to conceive or trying to um
I
it's
think
leaving my mind, but
I don't
it's
even
the
remember.
opposite,
Yeah.
trying to not. I feel like we kind of were just like, we'll see what happens, and um whatever happens happens. And I feel like that's kind of a nice place to be as well, because we weren't really trying with the stress of it. But also, I was honestly, if I were to have gotten my period, after even having sex in our fertile window, like I would still have been so excited because I got my period. And that, you know, is also so exciting. But obviously, getting pregnant is unbelievably exciting. So,
Yes.
um, but yeah, it's just cool to see how your body works and what it does. And so, yeah, I think not having the stress of like really trying to conceive, and, that always could be happen one day too. So,
Yeah.
um, you never know. But yeah, I think it's kind of fun in a sense just to kind of be relaxed with it if you can.
Course, yeah, and that was key with us because you started. I think the biggest thing with your journey is that you started ahead of time, where
Right.
you weren't,
Totally.
yeah, you weren't ready in that moment to conceive. You didn't want to start a family right then. You knew that
Right.
you had some time, and that allowed you to understand your cycles, get those back in a regular pace
Yep.
after they were so irregular after stopping birth control, understand how to track your fertility so you
Hmm.
knew exactly when to try. And
Yep.
so that really sets you up perfectly for then not having that stressful, experience that, again, it's not, everyone's different, and some, of
Yes.
course, that happens, but you set yourself up really nicely for
Right.
not having to
Yeah,
experience.
absolutely. And just, like you said earlier, just not going blindly about it. If we were trying to conceive and, I had that 68 long day cycle, and I was just every other day we were having sex thinking, oh, what if now, or what if now? It's so cool just to kind of see what your body's doing and know, oh, I know I'm not pregnant because I've already passed my fertile window, or there's a possibility I could be pregnant because we had sex in our fertile window. So it's cool just to see that and not go about it blindly.
100%. That empowerment piece is so critical.
Yes.
And then, even to finish that thought off, it's when you did conceive, you knew that something was kind of possibly happening, right? And how did you know that based off of your temperatures? What did you see in your
Yeah. So I saw, my temperatures sometimes will be more erratic in my luteal phase. So they'll be high, but maybe they'll have some more drops, but they'll be high and then drop. But I noticed that it just kept going up. And I charted until 18 days after ovulation, and it was just crazy to see how it just kept going up and up. And um, that was also another confirmation of pregnancy, along with blood tests and pregnancy tests. And that's neat too. Obviously, I didn't get my period either, so that's another thing. But that was really neat just to see my temperatures like keep rising and kind of just stay high.
Right. Yeah. So even then, you can be, your body's reassuring you of what's going on. You're
Right.
not just thinking, oh, well, I'm going to have a late period. And then, maybe you're doing things in your lifestyle or whatever,
Right.
that wouldn't really be conducive. You're actually seeing, oh, hey, my temperatures are staying high, which means that your progesterone is staying high to incubate that
Right.
first egg. So it's
Yep.
like direct feedback from your body, which is so freaking cool.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. It's
I
amazing.
love that. I love that. And then when you
Yeah.
told me, when you shared your chart on our Practice Better portal, I was just, I wanted to stay cool.
Yeah.
don't want to get too super excited, but in the
Yes.
I'm sitting here and I was just so psyched for you because it
Thank
definitely
you.
appeared that, yeah, we were
Crazy.
successful.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
I'll just love your story all the way from trying to come off birth control before,
Yeah.
being put back on it as, again, kind of just a band-aid solution, having those irregular cycles, and ultimately learning how to get those regular,
Yeah.
time your fertile window appropriately. And now you're being, what, 6 weeks? Is that what you said? 6 weeks?
Yeah. 6 weeks in a couple days, but yeah.
Very exciting.
Crazy. Yes.
So incredible. So, my last question for you, Lindsay, what would be the biggest piece of advice that you would have for someone who's maybe a little bit anxious or nervous or not knowing where to start on their fertility journey?
Yeah. So I would definitely tell anyone, obviously recommending you, Olivia. And yeah, just saying, it's how important it is to have someone just along this journey with you. Obviously, you can only Google and look things up so much.
Yeah.
And honestly, most of that time, you'll probably scare yourself. So I think, yeah, it's so important just to have someone that you can trust and just work through all of that with. Yeah, because it is scary. I think you do walk into the unknown, but ultimately you are benefiting your body and your cycle and your health just overall. But yeah, just to like take a step out in faith and just do it, because honestly, it's just, I really do not think that I would be where I am if I didn't do it. I mean, if I was just continuing on with my own eating and, really, I think not taking supplements like I should, and I think I'd probably still be struggling with my period and not having one, and definitely not pregnant right now. So,
Right. Yeah, no
yeah,
period, no baby.
yeah.
So,
So I think like, it's just so important if that's like, as it should be something that you really should take care of is your body and your overall health. Like you really should, you know, be with someone who you think will guide you and lead you. And yeah, I think that was so important for me. And Olivia just, guided me through all these different protocols, whether it was like a gut healing or liver cleansing. And yeah, I was just able to see, after time, just how my body was just healing and how I felt so much better. And yeah, it's just honestly amazing. And I'm so thankful that we decided to see Olivia when we did. So,
well, that means so much. And this is why I do what I do, because I just
yeah,
love helping women to feel that change in their body
yeah,
and really feel that sense of empowerment, knowing that you are really in control when we learn how to work with those hormones. You
yeah,
can understand what's happening, and it doesn't just have to be a guess every single month.
right.
So I just
Exactly.
love, I think your story really portrays that so perfectly.
Thank you.
And I just thank you for sharing and taking some time on a weekend here to
Absolutely.
share your story. And I really know that it's just going to inspire so many women. And we just wish you the best of luck
Thank you.
going forward. And I'm here for you. We're still talking and
Yep,
communicating and getting
definitely.
some resources to you. So I can't wait to
Yeah.
see how everything progresses. And
Yes.
I just thank you for your time today,
Yes.
Lindsay.
Thank you, Olivia. This has been awesome.
Awesome. Here,